You can spend lots of time going on YouTube, reading people's blogs, even listening to podcasts like this. But if you can find someone you trust and you understand what they're teaching, they can save you time if you just follow them, if you dive into what they're looking at teaching you. That's why we put together pillarsofpractice.com, a totally free e-course to help you, whether you're a solo practitioner or a group practitioner, to get the basic checklists and trainings that you need to rock out your private practice. So head on over to pillarsofpractice.com to get access to this free e-course. Again, that's pillarsofpractice.com. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session 900. Episodes. 900. Oh my gosh. I remember when I got to episode 100, I thought I had won the lottery. And I think it was episode 200 that Pat Flynn and John Lee Dumas and some other people surprised me with congratulations. And a bunch of you have left messages over the years. 900. Can you believe it? That's insane. When I first started the Practice podcast, I had just read this book, Guerrilla Marketing. Actually, had I just read it? No, I read Guerrilla Marketing. That would have been like 2006, 2007, somewhere in the... No. I should have wrote this all down. 2009. So Practice didn't come along until 2012. So 3 years earlier, I had read this book, Guerrilla Marketing, and something always stood out in it to me, and that was find the areas where right away from day one, you can be the category leader. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, all the spaces are full. And, as I thought about mental wellness counseling, my counseling practice, it was like, I enjoyed that work. That work was fun, but I knew that for me to scale into something beyond just a couple of people, I had to do something beyond that. And it was like, I'm learning about kind of starting a practice. I was listening to Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income. So I was kind of interested in some of that passive income stuff. But I was like, how do I apply this from a psychological standpoint? And it was one of those things where I realized this can't be through my website, my counseling website. I need something completely different. And the idea of building another website just was so daunting. And I remember that very first episode of the podcast, I had done all this research and looked into like where really were people not in the counseling consulting space. And there were no podcasts at the time around the business of running a private practice. And really those first 100 episodes for me were me interviewing people like Andy Crestodina. For some reason, he just like really stands out to me. He was an expert on SEO, on branding, marketing, lives in Chicago. My friend Sarah is friends with him and made the introduction. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy's like such a big name and does all these cool things. And I started to realize how if you have a podcast, not that you can access anyone, but really you can access people in kind of the next level above you or even a couple levels above you a lot easier than if you're just calling, if you're just emailing, hey, buddy, would love to meet you. To just start to see folks just a little bit farther ahead than you are. And, as I eventually like grew the podcast, I kept noticing that there's people that, are launching things. And so it could be books, that they want to get out there. And even if you have a few hundred listens per episode, they're really interested in getting on there. Because, you think about how far people fly to just speak in front of 500 people. That's a really small podcast. I mean, it's like top 5% podcast, but 500 people, every single week, like that's a ton of people over time. And so as we saw it grow, we've went through so many different iterations of the podcast. We had this thing I did called Smidgens with Joe, where I would, while I was driving from my counseling job over to my my counseling job at the college over to my private practice, I would pull out this little MP3 recorder because it wasn't super easy to do it on your phone. And the drive is like, I mean, I probably shouldn't have been doing it while I was driving, but I would just share different thoughts. And it's these little smidgens with Joe. And there's times when I would like put different music into it, all copyright free, but I'd find these bands that I liked and thought I was a DJ. So all sorts of different things there. But then, over time to start to see that shift from just like I'm co-learning with my audience to people looking to me as an expert. I mean, I remember Janine from Puzzle Piece Counseling was one of the first people, and Tressa Damas. Those were two people that reached out to me for consulting before I was ready. And it was one of those like, oh my gosh, like people think I'm really good at this. And then I did consulting with both of them, and they both were like, that was amazing. And both of them do such amazing work still. I know Janine's podcast, on Puzzle Piece and, the Autism Blueprint, like she found all these really cool ways to grow and expand her message. And then over time to see different things that I got to try, like partnering with Kelly and Miranda from Zinni Me and Julie Hanks on putting on the Most Awesome Conference, which was this micro conference, which wasn't a thing at the time, where we had 35 people come to this beautiful beach house with a pool in La Jolla. And we brought in a barista that hopped everybody up on caffeine. We had 4 massage therapists that did poolside massages, had hair and makeup and professional photos and video. And it was one of those things that felt like we're inventing a new category and trying something that no one else has done before. Now, micro conferences where it's around some niche that 20 people come to is like a really big and important part of the consulting world. But that wasn't a thing until, and not that we were the only ones that invented it, but in our space, we brought that into that space. And as kind of moving through the years, when my 2 daughters each had heart surgery, to see the support from the community, to be able to step back from my job at the college for a bit, to be able to do that and realizing, something's starting to shift in me. Something is different where I don't see myself staying in a full-time job for the rest of my life. And that central question that I still encourage people to think through is, if I leave this full-time job and I fail, would I rather try and fail, or would I rather never know if I have it in me? And everyone's situation is different. Leaving your full-time job may not be the best thing for you. But for me, I knew I had to try to run a private practice, to do practice the practice, to really dig into different things outside of a full-time job. And it was one of those things that, my parents thought it was a dumb idea. I had this amazing counseling job with golden handcuffs and a great healthcare and retirement plan, all of that. But I knew I had to try. And I had so many people that walked alongside me during that time within Practice the Practice. And, everything doesn't always happen overnight. Like this has been a slow burn. Practice the Practice, the website launched in 2012, the podcast in January of 2013. So we're over 10 years into this thing. And it feels like we're just getting started. It feels like we're really starting to find our stride. As I think about guests over the years, there's so many guests that were like big names that I was so excited to interview. Pat Flynn, who I had followed for so long, to have had him on the show, and John Lee Dumas, and to have Rob Bell, and then also to have like all sorts of leaders that aren't these huge names that have contributed to the voice of Practice the Practice. Like that's a fun thing to do. And I want to have you think about your own life. I want you to think about your own business because I maintain about 12 or so one-on-one consulting clients right now. And then we have our membership communities of Next Level Practice, Group Practice Launch, Group Practice Boss, and Audience Building Academy. But by helping thousands of clinicians over the years with their practices, you really get a big picture view of what happens. And there's a handful of things that, to me, stand in the way of people's progress and growth on the regular, where it's like over and over this happens. And the first one is a fear of being seen. And yeah, we don't want to be out there, like some of the weird, slimy influencers. But you have really important things to say. You have more knowledge in many areas than most of the world. Uh, and your fear of being seen and your fear of being critiqued or of having grad school people say, like, who do you think you are? Or family members or people from high school or whoever, whatever negative self talks in your head, like the world needs you to get over that, honestly. Like the world needs you to push into that and practice being seen because we need your voice. Like we need my voice for some things, but we need your voice for other things. We need your voices to be out there and pushing forward the agenda you see for a better world. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using therapy notes. They make billing, scheduling, note taking, telehealth, and e prescribe incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. You don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research and see for yourself. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR system available today, with a 4.9 out of 5 stars on trustpilot.com and on Google. All you have to do is click the link below or type promo code Joe on their website over at therapynotes.com and receive a special 2-month trial absolutely free. Again, that's therapynotes.com and use promo code Joe on the website. If you're coming from another EHR, Therapy Notes will also import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time and try Therapy Notes. Just use promo code Joe at checkout. Another thing I see is that kind of relates to that is this imposter syndrome. That when you've gone through all these trainings and you've like heard of all these leaders, like who am I to talk about marriage when there's John and Julie Gottman out there doing that? Who am I to talk about EMDR? I'm not at the level of other people. The thing is there are people that will relate to you differently than other influencers. And that idea of there being an imposter or having that feeling of being an imposter, like your stuff. Even if you're fresh out of grad school, you know more than most of the world. And I think that oftentimes we quell our voices because we don't want to feel like an imposter. We don't want to feel that negative feeling. We want to stick with the status quo and the narrative that we've been handed. And I want to encourage you not to. I want to encourage you to go into spaces that therapists normally don't hang out. To speak up in arenas where you're maybe the only therapist there. One of the next things that I often see is a I can do that mentality. Now, when you're first starting out, it's good to wear multiple hats. It's good to do a lot. And oftentimes we take on too much. I was just talking to one of my consulting clients, and they were talking about even in their personal life how they have uh he's a very high income earner, his partner's a very high income earner, and how there's something going on between them where there's like this idea that things around the house need to be done in a certain way. And even just talking through, like, why aren't you giving someone employment to clean your house? Why aren't you giving someone employment to I don't know, like fix the shutters or whatever the things are. Like people in your community need employment. People in your community like need to make money, and you don't like doing those things around your house. Outsource that. And our business is the same sort of thing. Like, do you want to be an SEO expert? Do you want to be good at making websites? Do you want to be good at doing billing or out of network benefits? Like, oh my gosh, puke in my mouth. Like, so much of that stuff sounds terrible. But there's people that love doing that, that geek out on that stuff. And even just today I was doing a pre-consulting call with somebody, and they have a growing group practice, and the Psychology Today conversions aren't really like converting. It's like 20% of people. And, I said for your group practice, do you have someone answering the phones or replying to emails? And they said, usually within 24 to 48 hours, someone gets back to them. When someone wants their toilet fixed, they go through the plumbing list until they find someone that can get out there right now to fix the toilet. How much more important is therapy? People just go through the list because they want to get in, they want to get scheduled, they want to be able to start therapy. And so even something small like hiring someone to answer your phones or reply to emails can be such a good thing for your bottom line, but also better clinical care. And these people that I was talking to, it's not like they're like the anomaly. That's a way that most of us think, most of us are taught or not taught to think about business, where it's like, I can do it. I can work harder. I have that work ethic. And really, we need to look at, sure, you can do it, but should you? Should you be doing that? If you're not hiring people right now for your group practice because you don't have time to train them, have someone else train them. Have them go through a different training course. Automate that. Get that going so that you are not the blockade in your own success. There's a lot that I could share around this, and I could probably just talk forever. But when I was a kid, I remember in second, third, fourth, and fifth grade, every single report card said, Joey talks too much in class. I would get my work done really quickly, and then I would chat with my neighbors and distract other kids. And for a long time, that was like a big behavioral thing that my parents worked with me on, of like just finding something to do, like, reading, or there's quiet games you could play if you finished your work quickly and wait for the other kids. And to an extent, I get that. But also, for one, I think those teachers should have like pushed me harder to like, see what my potential was. But like, that was a bad thing, that I wanted to talk to people, that I was curious, that I just would chat it up. And now my job literally is talking to people. It's talking to people on a podcast and doing consulting and sharing ways in our membership communities. The things that are our childhood growth areas could possibly be our superhero powers as adults. So I would love for you to think back of what was your superhero power, or what was the thing you got in trouble for? And could that be your current superhero power? Because we all need to find that. We all need to find those areas that we can grow and differentiate ourselves and impact the world in a positive way. The last thing I want to say is, we at Practice the Practice are so thrilled at what you're doing in the world. To see how many clinicians are launching practices in communities that need it, helping underserved populations, underrepresented populations, getting out there, having a more accurate continuum of the issues and topics and backgrounds and sexual orientation and all of that in the therapy world is so exciting to see these innovative thinkers pushing into new arenas and questioning how we've done things and questioning access to care and questioning how care is delivered. I'm really, really proud of you. We have a gigantic team now that is supporting clinicians every day, and we get to see so much, out in the world from that. Uh, I'm not going to tell you about all of our different products or things like that, but I am going to let you know that as a happy 900th episode, we put together a special course that is going to be texted to you. So it's called 40 Days to Full. This is specific if you are not full. It's our gift to you. It's no charge. It's called 40 Days to Full. You'll get a daily text that's going to help you move from not being full to being bursting at the seams in 40 days. Every single day, you're going to get some very clear things to do, some very clear steps to do. And I personally went through and did all 40 of these and worked with my assistant, Jen, to get them all uploaded. So you can text hashtag 40, the number 40, hashtag 40 to the Practice of Practice World Headquarters phone number, 231-422-0677. Again, that's 231-422-0677. Text hashtag 40 and you will get started on the 40 Days to Full texting course, our very first one. It's our big release date. We're doing this here on the 900th episode. We are so excited to be offering that to you. And you know what? We couldn't do 900 episodes without sponsors that have been with us. Therapy Notes has been with us over the years. They have supported us. They've supported you. They have the best electronic health records out there. And if you are keeping track of your client data like you should be using Therapy Notes. If you use promo code Joe at checkout, you're going to a couple months for free. They'll even help you move from other providers that are just harder to work with. They'll help you move that data over. So just head on over to therapynotes.com, use promo code Joe at checkout so they know that their marketing is working. And we have some amazing episodes coming up soon. So the next episode is how to start a private practice. That's with me. Next, then my friend Rocky is going to be talking about profit first. Then we're going to be jumping into starting a solo practice panel, and then essentials for your best private practice directory profiles. Some really awesome things coming up. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. You know, we also couldn't do this show without amazing sponsors like Therapy Notes. Therapy Notes is the best electronic health records out there. They will help you switch over from your current EHR. They also give you 2 months for free or just money off if you use promo code Joe at checkout. They are phenomenal. They help with automated billing. It's going to make it easier to outsource your billing. So many reasons to switch to Therapy Notes. Just head on over to therapynotes.com, read about it, and at checkout, just use promo code Joe. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.